not being able to join in because I'm just getting some DMs that they are not able to join in. So yeah, we can just get started. And thank you so much everyone for joining in. Today we have Animesh Pathak, who is the founder of Patience, and also he is doing a really great work at Postman. Like he has a really great experience, and I'm just looking in future that I'll be seeing him as an API engineer. So yeah, we would really like to know about you.
Shavi, thanks for the introduction. So, hey folks, as Shavi mentioned, I am a founder of Alphations. That's an open source community whose focus is to promote open source, women in tech, and let others come into the tech through hackathons and many more stuff. And currently, I'm working as a developer advocate at a company, and I primarily work with APIs. So in today's session, we are going through an introduction of APIs and a brief introduction about how the Postman works. Then we'll talk about requesting and receiving, how those works from an API. And we'll try a bit of hands-on sessions kind of thing at the end. And then I'll share some follow-up resource with you so that you can, go ahead, build your customized APIs of yourself or your own projects, and then launch them publicly or for privately. Great. Let me just share my screen. I hope it's visible. Right.
Yeah, it is.
Great. Then let's get started. So as I mentioned, that we'll be talking about the agendas of this webinar will be primarily focused on introduction to APIs, how the request and response work, and then the follow-up resources. And at the end, if you have some questions, we'll do a Q&A round, quick Q&A round. Great. So consider APIs as a digital restaurant, right? And we can consider API as a waiter at the restaurant. Imagine you go to your favorite restaurant and then you want to order something. In this case, you are the client. You become a client, and the chef becomes, your server or a resource from where you are making the request or you're ordering. So once you have sent your request to the waiter to the chef, you get chefs make your favorite dish, and the waiter will come back with your food. Or they may not. If the ingredients are not available in the kitchen, then they will say, okay, sorry, we are out of the ingredients, please order something else. So regardless of what chef, whether you get your food or not, the waiter serves as a mediator between the you and the kitchen, and that's exactly what APIs do for the clients, right, and the services. So you have made a request to the waiter, and waiter carries your request to the kitchen, and if ingredients are there or not, kitchen sends a response through the waiter back to you. This is how the primarily everything works around the API ecosystem. As you can see, the client has made some request. It can be of for any kind of services. If you want to upload an image, if you want to get a data of your how many people have registered on your websites or etc. So the client makes a request to the servers using this kind of. Now, what's an API and why should you use it, right? I don't think many might know, or some might have heard about like what API is full form actually. So it's basically application programming interface, which allows the services to communicate with each other, right? And as your project or the software, anything that you're working upon becomes more complex and collaborative over the years, you don't basically build each feature and then integrate it. What you do is there are already pre-present APIs, pre-built APIs by different companies, Twitter, Google, Facebook, and many more. So, and they allow developers access. So you can actually use those services and implementing it in your code base. So you don't have to build everything from scratch every time you want, user to use some kind of special features. So let's get in a bit technical format, right? So we can see that sometimes we need to get a data from the services, like I mentioned, Google or Facebook. And since we don't have access to the those companies' data code bases, and they have created an API so you can get information from their services without the access to the database, right? Similarly, the Instagram algorithm works. So what it does, uh, everyone has a smartphone and they use those to share photos on social networks, right? Being Instagram one of them. So when you upload your photo, those are basically taken from some kind of API, and then they are uh, once they are uploaded into or shown it reflected back into the Instagram. And what Instagram does it sends back into their servers and store it in their database. And whenever somebody refreshes their feed or do a follow, what the servers does basically, they throw out everything that they have regarding that identity, we will say ID, to the customers. So if you're following a Marvel, you will see a lot more frequent, what should I say, post or reels or anything, uh, accounts that follow Marvel or related to the Marvel, what the content that Marvel posts. So that's basically happening all through the servers. And what APIs is, API acts as a mediator between all this. So it's not just one API that is being used for each services, and each feature they have different. So in this scenario, we are seeing basically there are three types of API that are involved. Respectively, there would be a hardware APIs, a library, and a remote API for fetching and other purposes. Cool. So far, everyone is with me, right? And we'll move ahead. Great. And as I mentioned, there are APIs for everything, like legit everything. You can use the Discord API that they provide to build Discord apps, bots, servers, and etc. Then you can use Spotify to build your uh, what should I say, deploy your apps, playlists, and etc. Open Weather Map is was something that is used in a wide web, in a wide application. You can see on your phone when you tap there as a weather feature app. So that weather feature app is basically nothing but uh, a response or the data that is collected from the Open Video app. Then you have might have seen there are some many meme apps in which there are they post cats pictures and etc. So that's cat API. And there was something a feature called in Discord Rhythm. Everybody must have used, have heard of Rhythm and etc. So basically, they have a band, but it's YouTube to MP3 APIs. They have stopped their services on Discord, but are still available for many other. Then there are Twitter bots, Facebook bots, Google bots. So basically, and many more. So you can use their data not just to build bots, but to integrate them in your application, and then make a one in all kind of a platform as well. So now moving ahead, we'll see that how the request and the response works. So here, client makes a request to the server, and the server hits back the response, as we mentioned in the digital restaurant case. So here, the client is an entity that makes a request to the server. Some examples of clients are like applications like web browser, right? A server controls resources and services, and API is an interface that exposes these resources to the client in a network. And they will be evaluated based on the what kind of request the client has done, and the required operations are then further carried out. So here, there are multiple different kinds of requests and methods, and there are something bare minimum for the request. Any application or website that you open, if they have an endpoint, like we can see that https www.google.com/search. So slash search is the endpoint, and the rest is a hosting URL that we can get ahead of. And the get is something that is very common, and each website that you open or anything, it is basically a get website. It's a get endpoint. Then similarly, we have post, put, patch, delete. So we use post to when we want our data to be stored in a database, or request something or that kind of. Put and patch is basically used to update the information. There is one more endpoint method called update, which is as well used for updating the informations, and then delete is for deleting information. These are the basics and are generally known as CRUD operations. Whether you're building an app or website or any kind of services, these are the four that are always required in a backend that makes it possible for all kinds of features and functions in your application. Now, as I mentioned, here HTTPS is a protocol. There are two type of protocols as of now, HTTPS and HTTP. Then the www.google.com is a host URL. That's address of the site where we have hosted our endpoint, or it's a website basically. And the search is an endpoint destination where request can be heard or executed. Now, we'll go a bit in a specifying detail. As we know, as I have shown, if we have, so here, if we used www.google.com/search, it will throw everything without optimizing, right? It will show everything that's on a page or any. If you have hit any query, then it will show everything. But that's not what we require. We require something specific. So for that purposes, we use parameters, authorizations, headers, and body. So when you make an API call with get method, it usually retrieves everything as I discussed. So here parameter, when we specify parameters, what it does is basically filter out the response. So you can get the specific data you're looking for. In the parameters or the query format, we can say whether it's plus, minus, or if we are searching for a specific keywords, right? Similar happens in the authorization. In authorizations, we basically won't go into detail because it's a very high level topic. But in general, authentication lets an API to know that what kind of permissions does the client have, whether he has only permissions for get request, put request, delete request, or etc. Because if authorization is given to anyone or everyone, it would create an hassle for you, as anyone will be able to access your database and either get the access of it and sell it anywhere, or delete or wipe out your whole database. That would create a very major problem, and it's basically a bug. So this is a very common thing, and it's very something that we have seen in a form of API key. Whatever we're building, sometimes, especially in a front end part, it's told to store your API key in the environment file. So that is what the authorizations are. Then there are the headers. These are basically a metadata for the request. Some APIs have particular headers and format, like these are the format in which they will store, or they will accept the data or need to be request in a body format. Then there's a body. This is basically used in a method such as update or post, because we need some kind of data to get input and then stored and head back to the server. And then here are the types of request in which we can make in a body. So it's JSON. This is the most common and most used format in everywhere that are using, and are basically wrapped around the REST APIs. The REST API will always take the data, show the data, or store the data in the format of JSON. Then there are form data. As I mentioned, if you may have made a form and you connect with your backend, so it's like a Google form, how the Google form works. Then there are text, you just type it and store it. Then there are multiple files. GraphQL is something that's very new and it's very popular, and more. XML, HTML, these are the very basics ones and are used when you're making, a kind of complicated desktop apps or simple desktop apps. Here's an example of JSON format. Everything would be same in every format. Like if you're using the form data, the curly brackets won't be there. It would be just name and gender, email, birth year, etc. Similar would be in text. In text, you won't have double colon or the commas. It would be just in each sentence. In each sentence, you have written a one name, then email, then birth year. Now let's come to a receiving response, that what responses there are and how the accessing body data works. So there are basically 3 to 4. There are multiple types of status code. To be honest, 200 is okay. 201 is created. 400 are generally because there are something wrong with your application. 400 not found. Then comes 5xx. So what I mean by 5xx is like 500, 502, 505, 504. Those are the server problems. So those generally means like something has gone while hosting your backend or application, or a server is down, etc. Then the headers are the parts where we use, authorizations and rest. And accessing body data is something that we get in a form of JSON, as we saw in previous Jane Doe. We made a request, and then we got a name Jane Doe, her birth year, and an email ID. So let's go. Let's have a brief recap. Then I'll show you a demo, and there will be some links shared in the chat, so you can go and work upon on your own. Okay, so in this session, we learned how to make a essential request and retrieve the data from an API. What kind of different methods there are? What are the addresses, the host websites, protocols are very important, and what kind of endpoints we have built for that specific methods to be addressed to. Then authorization, so that your API does not have your API's full potential is not access to anyone, but only those who are authorized to use, and the specific features that they are authorized to use. Then body data, like what kind of body data there are, in which format we can access or get the body data back. So moving on to our demo session. Okay. Yeah. So this is basically a flow and a dashboard of Postman desktop app. You can work on your uh, web browser app as well. Postman has a web browser app. The dashboard would be pretty similar, so you don't have to be worried. Just go and fork the workspace that has been shared in the chat, and it will look something like this. You want to, just go ahead and access basics of API part. So as I mentioned, like if we do a put request or get request from Google, we are going to this is a very basic one. So if we go and we get something like, it will show what kind of a Google page looks like in general. Let me pull it up here. Visualize. Okay. So this is how in general Google looks like, google.com looks like. And if we go ahead, let's get a query from here. Uh, just So if we go here and do a search part, we will see that it will show the same, because regardless of what happens, it's still not been identified like what kind of search it wants. But if this is a valid endpoint by the Google, but if we try something else, for example, if we do a Postman, right, and enter request, it will say that 404. So this has not been defined by Google. This is not a valid endpoint. Okay, let's go back. So here you can see that it's a question mark. Question mark is equal to Postman. So the rest is basically we can delete it. So okay, yes, just yeah, here it is. Parameters. Okay, let's go. Let's type Postman and hit it. It's going to pretty one. So this is the standard page that is going to be visible, or that's the response you are getting when we type www.google.com/search. Q is equal to Postman. So Q here represents query. If we want something specific, not whole Google page, so we have written Postman. Similarly, if you want to simmer it down much more, you can write you can just check once what the format is and put something like and etc. Q as well. There you can write much more queries, advanced queries as well. So this is a basic introduction of like how the get works and how the pages are loaded. Let me see if it's coming in preview version. It's not coming. No. See it. So this is something that has been shared with you in a chat, and once you fork the basics of in API, you can see it as well, right? Let's go ahead and check like what kind of response we get when you hit this URL. So you can see that there is already an ID generated. This is the only thing that has been generated as of now. So you will see ID is equal to 28, author is Akshay, jo ki CSS is awesome, source is google.com. Similarly, we can add, and once we have added, we can check it whether our ID, our joke has been here or not. Right. So let's go ahead. I have already made something. Here it is. So I'm going to post it as an ID 11, and author name I'll for now will keep it as null. The joke is bugs are features, and the source is ile.dev. Right. Let's go ahead and send it. So it shows 201 is created, and as I mentioned, the request has been fulfilled and the result has been stored in a response of wherever it is being stored. So let's go ahead and check it back. Get joke, send. Our joke ID was 11, right? Yeah. So here it is, ID 11, author is NA, jokes is that bugs are features, and the source is IID. So previously it was not there, and when we added it, we can also update and check it how it works. So in update method, we'll be using update put methodology, put, or you can use even patch. Both works in the same way, so it doesn't matter whatever you are choosing or not. Okay, let's go. And here we need to go to body. I'll share it as ID 11. And then let's go. So this is one of the something that is that I mentioned like 202 content. So it's basically that it is successful, but 200 represents okay, 201 is created. So one of them is 204, that's no content. Let's go ahead and check it whether it's updated or not. Yeah, it's updated. As we can see, the author for previously was any none, and now it's as I have added Ali Mustafa, it's Ali Mustafa. Similarly, we can delete the deletion as well, but deletion needs something very specific, you know. So for example, it cannot work if we have just given Joe, because this is a whole endpoint. It doesn't know like what to delete and what not to delete. It is not identify anything. ID is missing. So whenever deletion comes, it becomes something unique, just special like post and update one. You need certain unique identifiers that define that specific content or query or something. So in this case, I'm going to delete 11 and send. So yeah, joke with ID 11 is deleted, 200 status okay. Now if we try to get back and see whether joke 11 is updated or deleted or not, we can see the joke not found. So these are the methodology that different methodologies. You can see much more. Here is copy, head, options, link, a link. Purge is also similar to delete one, but it is used for deleting whole content out of it. It doesn't work just in a one space. Then head, copy, delete. Copy basically works in a similar format. You have a data, you want to replicate it, so you will use copy. You will enter some data and it will be get replicated. So these are the different methodologies. Now moving back to, yeah. So thanks for joining in. This is a GitHub link. Let me share it in a chat as well. This is basically, this is basically the kind of a template or a boilerplate you can say. You can use this to build your own APIs and etc.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Animesh. It was an amazing session indeed, and also I learned a lot about APIs from you. And we have few questions with us. The first
Yeah.
question is, um, have you ever made your own API? If yes, then what it was? Or like if you have made a lot of APIs, then which is your the favorite one?
Yeah, I have made a lot of APIs. Those were basically when I was testing. So those each one was different. One was for login, one was for registering, one was for storing database, and the other was for form format. It was basically made using Flask, and some was for Node.js using different DBs. It was for testing out purposes and for some of my personal projects. I would say like database collection was my favorite one because you can add it anything and it would work.
Amazing. And so the next question we have is, can you please share some job opportunities in this domain? And as I mentioned that I'm just watching you as an API engineer in future. So what do you think? Like, what is the future of APIs and how uh, a student or a professional can just get into these APIs and get a really good package and stuff? What are your views on this?
So basically, API engineer is not some specific post that comes upon. It depends upon organization to organization. But the API engineering domain comes under the backend part, right? And as seen in the further 10 to 20 years, API and the serverless are something that are coming up very fast and are one of the top emerging technologies in the world. So the package is pretty high because backend development basically relies upon what kind of logic you can build, the search applications. This was just a basic one. So these are the things. The package is quite high, and every company, if they are even hosting a website, they would require a backend engineer. So there are different opportunities for you all in either as an internship or a full-time commitment, or you can just first work on your portfolio, build certain kind of things that are unique in themselves, and then showcase to the company.
That's amazing. And also, there's one more question that I would love to know about your journey. So, it would be great if you can just share your journey in a brief, that how you just get started with APIs and why APIs and why not something else.
Thanks for asking this. This is a very unique question, and generally don't people ask me. So it was basically my first internship in my, I would say, first year or the second year. And I was asked. The company was just started, and they were about to launch their first product. It was a mobile application kind of. So I was pretty new. I knew people, and the interview was done very well, and it was like something like that. The framework was different, what I knew and what they knew. So they were working on a Django framework, and I knew only Flask at that time. So they asked me like, these are the some things that you have to build, and once you have built, our engineering team will take it up and convert into that different frameworks. So all of our things on a serve just one platform only. I keep uh, then that's how I was given certain features to work upon. Like I mentioned, it was uploading images, then a login, register, sending blogs, posting something. So it was basically posting and fetching kind of thing. There I got to know. Uh, there I got to basically work with different things. I learned, I researched a lot, and I found it very fascinating. Like from just in a page of code and three folders, you can deploy your application, and you can work it in anything, whether it's if you're a Android developer, or whether you are a web developer, or a desktop developer, desktop app developer. You are using different frameworks. Doesn't matter. Once it is up, and you can use it in any number of frameworks, in any number of languages, build anything. Depending, it all depends upon your creativity. So that's how I got started with building APIs, maintaining it, and then just working along it.
That's amazing. And it's my personal question to just like adding to it is like what is that one project that is your favorite till date that like in which you used some API, you made something. So it would be great if you could share one.
It was basically in one of the hackathon projects, and love that project. It was a quest book kind of thing. So I and my friends made it specifically in seeing the COVID time. It was a very depressing time, to be honest, and the people were on their home and not doing much. The health were degrading as well. So we made an application. It was kind of a social media in which each day you would be given certain amount of tasks. You can share your profile. Once you complete your profile, your task, you can just take a picture, or if there's something you have written or something that you're working upon, you can just take a picture and post it there, and just make a tick cross mark. You can kind of a to-do list. So once your to-do list is over, you have posted your pictures. Uh, you would be given certain amount of points, right? And the points were quite high. So if you post one picture, it would be like 100 points, and at 1,000 points you can redeem something from our shop. So that's how the whole feature would work, and the whole platform would work, and it was just an amazing thing. Like we loved working upon it, and the judges, when we presented it to, they were so happy as well. So that one project would be my most memorable.
Love to hear that. That was really amazing, and also like that time was something that we needed to just come together and have a really like like close relation with everyone. So that was an amazing project. So coming back to the next question is how to maintain a live API actively used by users. For example, to change or update the parameters, should we make a compatible one? The newest API version is still can accommodate the old API, or just take down the old API and replace with the new one?
I would say not to do any of them. Since you're maintaining a live API and it's been actively used by the users, so there is something that you must have also seen when you're visiting certain websites or loading Google even as Discord as a prime example. So it shows a maintenance R is on. So what happens in that maintenance R is basically they do not take the whole API down. They just upload the updated one. They just upload the replace the features, just the specific features, not the whole API endpoints and etc. So what happens is once the maintenance is over, in the front end your API's endpoints remain same, and in the back end there is just some basic changes depending upon the what parameters you have made. So your database is still connected. Your API version would just change. For example, if it's previously version 1.0, now it would be 2.0 or 1.1, something kind of. But the rest doesn't change. So if there is other people who are using those API, their platform doesn't break as well. And since you're maintaining a live API, you have different users. So before the maintenance hour goes up, you send them kind of email like, yeah, hey, we are going to a maintenance hour. During this time, this will be the changes. We hope you make certain changes in your application as well to prevent your um, loss of data or anything, loss of users. So it's better to not to just take down the whole API and replace with the new one because it will break certain things. You just take the API version and just upload it. Heroku is the most popular one, so you just upload, redeploy it. So the version would change, but everything would be same.
That's amazing, and also he also liked their explanation, so that's amazing. And also, there's one question from YouTube as well that Harish just like dropped it in this chat. That can you share some fun APIs to test and play around with, where to find them, and also like just adding one more thing to it, like what will be some projects as well when it comes like this. So like what sort of projects you can just get started. For example, I'm just like making a website, a web app, like a simple web
Mhm.
project, and then I'll be like just add on this API. So what would be those?
You can make a gaming app, or there is something very popular nowadays that every person at the starting will like. It's a tic-tac-toe or the scavenger hunt kind of thing, right? So you can get ahead started with those things and just work upon it, build those, and reflect it and use it in a different form. Then there are meme applications. Just let me share the few links that I use when just I want to play and not do anything else. So both gone in a second much. There are two links. One is for a meme generator, and many people uses it. Meme generator, you can make your own meme app, web app, anything. If you do not want anything, you can just go in a Discord, add it there, and play with it. Or you can, as I mentioned, in a Postman, you can play it with it. Then there is a collection, full collection of game database. So through this, you can make different kind of games or machines. They have different range from Fortnite unofficial, Tank Shards, Dota, Pokemon Go, and many more. There's like a whole collection of video games databases. You can use these as well. Or if you want to go to YouTube and search it, you can just type it, the fun APIs to work upon. And will show you just a whole pages, not just one and two, the three, 4 pages as well, and in which they have just made a APIs to play with around.
That's pretty cool and amazing as well at the same time, because my favorite is meme generator as always, because this is something like I just like whenever I'm just coding and doing some stuff in laptop, just having some bad timing, my code is not at all compiling, I'm getting a lot of error. That time I just click on that and having some memes and I feel so good. So yeah, that's truly amazing. And apart from that, there's one thing that comes to my mind. So we have these like applications like Grammarly and a lot many. So what do you think? Like how companies are getting benefit from this API thing? Like they are having API. Like for example, we are having Google API. The Google Maps API has been used in the Swiggy, and there are so many APIs like outside. So what do you think? How companies are getting benefit out of it?
I would say their user retention is getting very high. Coming to the Google part, since Google Map is the one that is the primary, and I don't think even someone is using Microsoft Maps. Means they have something like that, MS apps, kind of. But no one uses it because Google Maps became something that comes pre-installed and many people uses it. So what happens is they have using their app, they collect the data and are stored in the API format, and they with some pricing features or a premium version, they distribute those APIs to the different consumers, right? Mentioning one of them being Swiggy, Zomato, and all kind of delivery apps, not just food delivery. So what happens is they have with each integration, their user retention is getting high. They have more user bases who are using their product. So even with the feedbacks become very important part in that, right? If they whether it's negative or positive, they work upon their feature. And even if they lose a certain amount of users from either of their apps as a company, like if they lose Swiggy or Zomato as a company, but they still would have Ola, Uber, and many more. Now coming to the small companies that are integrating APIs, so for the starting part, I think they give certain features as a free version, and then some premium version, so then they can earn. In the start, companies use feedbacks from the customers or the consumers as a primary focus to upgrade their product. Once their product is at a state or a stable state, uh, there you can just use anything. They would go and remove their free version and just move it on the premium version, because their product is very stable. They do not need any more feedback that are required to be integrated in their APIs. Similarly, each application uses different thing, as we on the discussed on Instagram part, right? One is for uploading, one is for sending, one is for showing. So we can actually use these data, these kind of APIs, and build our own app. Many of us have seen, Story Saver or Feed Saver, a kind of application on Android or iOS. So those are basically ways in which they interact with Instagram, and that are primarily through the things that Instagram provide, their APIs. So it's like once they have open sourced or made their APIs public at some point or at some pricing, there is a just whole variety of things that can be explored or created using those.
Yeah, that's pretty true, and I like totally agree to that as well. And also looking forward that we'll be having like great number of APIs in future. Like whenever a company will start their any application, so they'll be making their alternative thing like API. Like we have Grammarly and we have Grammarly API as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving forward to the next question that we are having from the YouTube, that are there Postman alternatives? Like we have Postman, like apart from that.
Yeah, we actually have quite a number of lot. We have Microsoft Azure API management, then IBM API Connect, SAP integration suite, Swagger, then Boomi API management. For if you are just looking for API management, then we have many layer 7, Azure, as I mentioned, SAP, and those are very high level. Amazon, MuleSoft, IBM, Vaso, and many more. The Swagger being a common alternative to the people who are using the Postman, and a vice versa. Like, so depending upon what is happening, these are the some platforms that you can use if you are efficient or a proficient in them.
So, like, what do you think that why then person should go for Postman or not some other like other companies APIs making something? Like, why a Postman?
So one of the point being, it's easy to use. If you are a user, you don't need. If you are just a beginners, or just for a testing purpose, you don't have to go around and build. So what happens in IBM integration suite or the Amazon? You have to first build your application. You have to create a dashboard for testing purpose. You have to build your environment in those. Similar with Azure API management, but it's a relatively bit simpler than these. In a Swagger part, you have to go and make your host it locally and then work on different varieties. You have to make your docs, etc. for those things to work. But that's not required in the Postman. As I mentioned, you have hosted your backend. It can be on a local server or a global server, public server. You just go ahead and hit it. And in the Postman environment, you can actually work around and build or mock test using different servers or endpoints. Like I mentioned, there was one of the status code, right? As I mentioned, 5xs. So you can actually mock those 5xs or 400s through 200s, 300s, and check like how your API is working in a different conditions and control all the edge cases. Plus, there is something called mock servers. Now, in case you don't want to build everything, but you have a dummy data, you want to, just use that data only to be replicated in your application. You don't want the user retention or anything. Once you have a schema, you just go ahead in a mock servers part, you upload your schema, and you have an API ready. Like, it's just simple. You go ahead. take the response, hit it, and you have an API. And then you can work around the schema to further enhance it and work upon post, get, update if you want. But your get version is ready. You already have a pre-built database. These are the some things that are better, and what you have monitors, etc. For the monitors, many people use Uptime Robot. It's something that is being used since way back. If you have hosted any application or anything, you generally use those things. There is one more thing when it comes to the alternative. There is a Thunder client that comes on a VS Code, but depending upon how the user have used it or is friendly, uh, the experience may vary from horrible to very good.
Yeah, that's like true, and I again also the main thing that I believe about Postman is about the community, the way they are supporting. And also Ali Mustafa is so he's an amazing person. Whenever I
Right,
have a doubt related to anything, I just ping him and he responds very quickly. So it feels me so feels me so good, and also feels so connected to that particular company as well. So yeah, I think that at the same time, community plays a major role. Not just the product and the company, but yeah, community also plays a major role when it comes to like building building
right.
tools or anything related to building. Yeah. I guess that's pretty much up. Is there anything you want to share about APIs, or is there anything left you think that would be great for our audience?
Uh, I saw few people who are very interested in building and managing. So for them, I would suggest like pick a framework. The most popular framework that anyone uses for building an API purpose just is Django or Node.js. Both have their own capacity. Both are very powerful. They are running. Every product is running on either one or the other, either for the production or the development. And there is something, as I mentioned, authorization part. If you are very keen on building your application and having a good user base, or at least some amount of user base, like 50 to 100, it's something that you should work around it. You can make, as I mentioned, a beam generator only meme API, and then give them an API for different suits. Like one API is for cat memes, one is for Shark Tank memes, one is for dog memes, cartoon memes, anime memes, different kind of API keys for each endpoint. So that's how you can work with, and it would really help you a lot as to grow as a backend engineer, because you will be writing different APIs in a different format. You can also build a guessing game, because in the guessing game, your actual logic implementation comes up. You have to write like whether if the user has guessed this word or this letter, print hello or congratulations. If not, give the try or -1. So those kind of logic you will build.
That's amazing, and I really liked it. And also, like nowadays, whenever there comes a series, movie, or a show like Shark Tank, people just come up with so many names and everything. They relate to it, and also it puts a lot of value to their resumes, as well as they are
Yeah,
having some real projects that are making sense to all of them. There's a friend of mine who just it's not basically an API, but yeah, he just made a application out of our website that we are using as a student portal. So it helps a lot of
right,
students. So yeah, it's a great help for everyone, and it is making a lot of sense to all the students studying in my university. So I totally agree to that, and that's pretty amazing. So I think that's all for today, and thank you so much, Animesh, for joining in. That was an amazing session indeed. We would really love to have you again in future with some great amazing topic, with some great amazing talks, discussions, and some knowledge. So thank you so much everyone for joining in. Do let me know if there is any question left for Animesh. You can just ping me. He is available everywhere as Sonichigo. As he
yeah,
is an anime lover, so you can just DM him anywhere, like Twitter, GitHub, anywhere. He's available as Sonichigo. Animesh, you can just drop your
yeah, yeah.
LinkedIn in the chat box. Yeah, so that they can just ping you if they have any sort of doubt or anything you want to clear. Great. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
yeah, bye
just
bye.
one thing. So the folks who are very interested in the API management part, there is something special coming upon my Twitter on, this Tuesday, upcoming Tuesday, with a very great folks from different big companies. So you can come hop in and we'll discuss like how to move these things forward as an API manager.
Yeah, like I have seen like the way you are just hosting Twitter spaces with the folks or like with the professionals, it's something marvelous. So yeah, like please do join in, and it's really insightful and helpful for all of you. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining in, and thank you so much Animesh for joining in. It was a great session indeed. Bye bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye bye.